The 2024 Summer Olympics in Paris was controversial in many ways, but the Olympics have been making history for centuries, since its Greek origins to its weird present. You might be surprised to learn that the Olympics have changed a lot over the years, and probably for the better, because if Olympic athletes needed to be in the nude to compete, that's all I'll say right now. First off, the Olympics were pagan. The Olympics have a long history, and I thought it might be fun to explore their origins in the polytheistic world of ancient Greece. The Olympic Games are one of the most highly anticipated events in the sports world today. The Games are a huge event attracting athletes from nearly every country. Although it has turned into a marketing and merchandising behemoth, the original purpose of the Olympic Games was a far less secular one. During the early years of the Olympics, events were held not as a way to collect multi-million-dollar endorsements, but to honor the gods of ancient Greece. The early Olympic Games have been called the total pagan entertainment package by many, and you will know exactly why in just a while. The Games featured art, poetry readings, writers, plays, painters, and sculptors. There were street shows including fire eaters, jugglers, dancers, acrobats, and palm readers. That's not it. Also, important was the notion that war was put on hold during the Games. While the Greeks knew better than to try forming permanent truces with their enemies, it was understood that there was a moratorium on fighting during the Olympics. This allowed athletes, vendors, and fans to travel safely to and from the cities for the Games without having to worry about being attacked by more raiding bands of mercenaries. Honoring Zeus. For the citizens of Greece, the Olympics were a time of great religious celebration. Athletic events were mixed in with sacrifices, rituals, and prayer, as well as great feasting and revelry. For over 1,000 years, the Games were held every 4 years, which made them not only the longest-running athletic event in history, but also one of the longest-running regular religious observations. The Games were originally held in honor of Zeus, king of the Olympians. The very first Games consisted of only one athletic event. It was a foot race, which was won by a cook named Coroboius. Athletes made regular sacrifices to Zeus, typically pigs or sheep, but other animals would do as well, in hopes that he would recognize them and honor them for their skill and talents. During opening ceremonies, athletes lined up before a giant statue of Zeus holding a thunderbolt and swore an oath to him in his temple at Olympia. And now for the Bearskin Olympics. Athletes participated in events in the nude. Although there is no clear reason as to why this is the case, historians attribute it to a rite of passage for young Greek men. Nudity was important to the Greeks, and they weren't bothered by it. Athletes competed naked as a tribute to the Greek god Zeus. They wanted to show Zeus their physical power and muscular physique. Showing off their bodies also helped intimidate other competitors. Since Greek heroes were often depicted nude in artwork and sculptures, this inspired athletes to train harder and win their event. Athletes wanted to be compared to true heroes like Hercules and Achilles. However, many other cultures of the time found it off-putting that the Greeks were oiling each other up and then rolling around on a wrestling floor. The Egyptians and Persians felt that there was something a bit degenerate about the whole thing. While young women were allowed to attend the Games if they were brought in by their father or brother, married women never came to the festivities. Prostitutes were everywhere at the Olympics and were often imported by merchants from far-off locations. A prostitute could make a significant amount of money during an event as big as the Olympic Games. Sometimes as many as 40,000 people showed up, so there was a lot of potential clients. Some of the prostitutes were heteras, or high-priced escorts, but many were priestesses from temples dedicated to Aphrodite, the goddess of love. Then, the Olympics were banned for over 1,000 years. Around 400 CE, the Roman Emperor Theodosius decided the Olympic Games were too pagan in nature and banned them completely. This was part of the Roman Empire's shift towards Christianity. During Theodosius's youth, he was tortured by the bishop Ambrose of Milan. Theodosius passed a number of laws that were designed to eliminate Greco-Roman paganism completely, as well as doing away with the rituals and ceremonies that celebrated the old pagan religions of Greece and Rome. To make Christianity the state religion, All vestiges of the old ways had to be eliminated, and that included the Olympic Games. They were not held again for another 1500 years until the modern Olympic Games began in Athens in 1896. But it still wasn't a worldwide event. Only 14 countries participated in the first Summer Olympics in 1896, though over 200 compete today. The 1900 Olympic Games were small and long by today's standards. The 1900 Olympic Games were held in Paris, France, as part of the World's Fair. The Games spanned 5 months and only 24 countries were in the competition at the time. Artists used to compete in the Olympics. Between 1921 and 1948, musicians, artists, and architects, among other creatives, competed in the Olympic Games by making works of art. These pieces typically included athletes and Olympic sports as their subjects. Women couldn't always compete. Women have been allowed to compete in the Olympics since 1900, though many events did not permit women to compete until several years later. There's less gold in gold medals than you think. Gold medals are not made from solid gold. Modern Olympic gold medals are gold-plated and primarily comprised of silver. Solid gold medals stopped being produced in 1912. The Olympic flag holds tremendous significance. The 5 rings of the Olympic flag represent the world's 5 inhabited continents, with North and South America, the Americas, considered as one. The ring's colors are the most common colors on countries' flags around the world. The Olympics have official languages. English and French are considered the official languages of the Olympic Games, as is the language of the country hosting the Games. The torch relay was invented in Nazi Germany. The tradition of moving the Olympic flame from country to country until it reaches the host nation seems much older, but it was conceived by German Olympian Karl Diem from the 1936 Summer Olympics in Berlin. The Nazis used the torch relay and subsequent games as propaganda, with filmmaker Leni Riefenstahl creating the film Olympia after filming the events. And last but not the least, Greeks thought winning could lead to immortality. In Greek legends, death was a terrible experience. They believed when you died, it was all over, and you spent the rest of eternity in endless torment. This is why Hercules was so revered. He was a mortal man who won immortality because of his athletic accomplishments. Historians believe that many people competed in the Olympics hoping they'd be able to achieve some portion of immortality. By consistently winning, athletes would have statues sculpted and songs written about their achievements, which meant their legacy would live on through the ages. While competing in the Olympic Games isn't going to make you a demigod these days, at least one thing stays consistent: the sheer athletic drive and determination to win and become a legend for history to remember immortally.